Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to Conversations with My Higher Self. Today, we're talking about life path number 6. Life path number 6 is a very special life path. It is a path that is also called the middle alchemy path. So there are 3 alchemical paths. By alchemical, I really mean the paths that unite masculine and feminine. 3, 6, and 9. 3, 6, and 9 are the 3 numbers of creation. And they are the mystery numbers. They are the numbers of divine union and divine marriage. I'll explain what that means later in this episode. And so if you're a life path 6, listen up because this may be life-changing for you. This may explain a lot of your patterns. Before we dive in, just a quick housekeeping item. My first book has just turned 1 year old. It is called 72 Keys to Manifestation, or An Ancient Path of a Modern Day Alchemist. And it is now just starting to get momentum. If you have been seeking to manifest your best life yet, if you have been feeling stuck around, abundance or money, or not being able to get to where you want in life, this book may be the blessing that you need. It may be the breakthrough that you need. It is a wealth of ancient knowledge. It also contains a lot of practices to set you up on the right trajectory. So if this resonates with you, if you feel called to check it out, it is called 72 Keys to Manifestation, or An Ancient Path of a Modern Day Alchemist. It is available on Amazon. There's like an ebook version as well as the paperback and hardcover, and an audiobook is coming out in just a couple of weeks. So, if the audio format is what you want, then stay tuned. Alrighty, my loves, diving into the life path number 6. Just as a quick refresher, if you do not know what life path number you are, refer back to my episode about life path number 1. This is where I'm providing the groundwork. This is where I'm providing the foundation for this whole framework. This is where I talk about numerology, about life paths, how a life path number in numerology is the same thing as a sun sign in astrology. And that is why it could be such a powerful source of information, understanding, and knowing for you. Alrighty, diving deep. If you are number 6 or know somebody who's a number 6, let's get into it. 6, like I said, is a very alchemical number. It's the alchemical number of the sacred marriage between the masculine and the feminine, between the 2 polarities. 6 is represented, essentially, when you think about it numerically, it's 3 plus 3. So it's the trinity, the masculine trinity and the feminine trinity. When the 2 trinities come together, true alchemy happens. Alchemy is 1 plus 1 equals 10 billion, if you know what I mean, right? Alchemy is something that is not linear. Alchemy is something that is exponential. That's why a magical science, right? It is an ancient science of turning lead into gold. Or really, lead into gold is the reason it feels so magical is because it's not linear. Because it is bringing things that are mundane and turning them into things that are anything but mundane or precious. And so 6 as a life path is a very interesting path. Well, let me start by saying that it is not an easy path to walk. 6 as a life path is one of the harder paths to walk because it's a balancing act in and of itself. If 3, right, is the divine child has it easy. It doesn't need to do the balancing act of anything, right? It is masculine meets feminine equals divine child. Very simple, very easy. 6 has to balance out polarities. It has to find their own masculinity and their own femininity and marry the 2. And that is a challenge in our world, in our intellectual-based world, in the world that's led by the masculine and not the feminine. It is extremely hard to find those 2 polarities, uncover them within yourself, and also harmonize them. So 6 is always chasing balance, but is always existing outside of balance. It always thrives and strives to find some type of equilibrium. And so with 6, life path 6, frustration with life could be like a very common refrain. It could be a very common thread throughout life. 6 is also an incarnation As one of its purposes. It's a very karmic energy. It is very often a six, an incarnation six, life path six, is going to come into a lineage to massively transform or deal or take upon themselves a big chunk of the karma of the ancestors. Usually they pick one flavor of karma, whether that is around relationships or career or money or health or whatever, and they would deal with it all the way. Meaning, very often, six life path is born into suboptimal circumstances in life because of that. Or they're born into a lineage that has massive issues. They don't usually have a very easy childhood. I hate to say this. Six is often very challenged in their childhood in at least one way, and sometimes more than one. It could be that they have some type of innate chronic condition around their health. It could mean that they're born into, if not poverty, but a family of very modest means. It could mean that they're born into a family where they're not both parents. Maybe like it could be a single mother, for instance, or a single parent. That could be the case. It could mean that they're born into a set of parents or a family that doesn't really have the time for them. And so they're kind of like either the odd one out, or they just have to be by themselves because nobody just has the time. Let's say the parents work too much or something. So there's just some karmic situation that they're born into that is suboptimal. They may be the odd one out, and they may be like a little bit of an outcast in societal circles as they're growing up. That is how their adversity can come through. But it's almost like they have been marked from birth for challenges, right? And I say this with so much love. And again, none of this is a predicament, but I do hope I'm telling you all this, is that I do hope it'll shed the light on the why. So why are they experiencing such diversity? Because they are meant to thrive in the future. And this is just like a preparatory stage, right? The childhood for six is not supposed to be easy. But if they play their cards right, if they persevere, if they keep building upon their strength, because strength, personal strength and personal power is actually very pivotal. It's a very core, it's a very key concept for the sixth life path. So if they find their center, if they don't cave in, if they don't bend and break just because society wants them to, if they persevere despite the hardships of their childhood, they start blossoming and blooming like a flower. And there are so many facets to the six. The six is literally like a diamond. They have so many facets to their personality. They can be born extremely talented. This could be like a child prodigy, or there's something they're really good at. There's usually like their area of genius. I'm willing to bet that if you're a six, you have a very particular, very strict area of genius, or maybe this is another possibility. You could be good at a lot of things. You could even be one of those kids and one of those people that no matter what you take on, you're good at that. And again, because you have these two triangles, the masculine and the feminine, innate in you, right? And when they come together, alchemy happens. You are like a miracle kid in some ways, right? You have exceptional resilience to adversity. Adversity doesn't break you. Adversity doesn't shift you. Adversity doesn't throw you off your axis. Adversity tends to build you up. Adversity tends to prepare you to face the world in a renewed capacity, in an upgraded capacity. So when life knocks you down, you level up. When life knocks you down, you get up and you keep going. That is what I love about six. You are you're extremely resilient. You are unkillable. That's probably not a word, but you catch my drift. And extremely multifaceted because, again, you contain within yourself such a perfect dichotomy between masculine and feminine, such a perfect unity that you are like a great alchemizer. So from that perspective, you are an incredibly resourceful person to have on the team, to have in a group of people. Like, you bring in like the power of the universe with you. You are exceptional at manifesting things too, good and bad. So gotta be careful, right? The power of your word, the power of your communication is extremely strong. The power of your intention is extremely strong. You may even have this like very strong gaze. Like when you look at people, they feel your power. And so you have to be very careful, because when you carry within yourself such an impulse of creativity and everything else, of like just you're such a force of nature, that you have to be really careful with your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, because everything just literally comes true. So for you, it's actually exceptionally ill-advised to not manage your mental state, right? To not watch out for your thoughts, because your thoughts, now everybody's thoughts become their life eventually, right? Thoughts are material, they materialize. In your case, they materialize 10 times faster for compared with other people, right? So you have to be extremely careful about negative mental states. Like, don't allow yourself to get into those negative mental states. Or when you did get into a negative mental state, make it a note to snap out of it. Now, I know easier said than done, but I will tell you that thoughts that you are thinking are not your own. Thoughts exist in the matrix, in your vicinity, in the surrounding field, in the energy field, outside of you. They don't belong to you, despite the fact that you internalize your thoughts. As such, you should think of thoughts as, I don't know, like in nature, you have animals, and animals inhibit nature, right? They're part of nature. But, if you're going to be in a field with bunnies, you're not going to be like, well, these are my bunnies. These, unless you own them. Like, it'll be like, okay, well, these are wild bunnies. They live in nature. So this is how you should think about the thoughts. Like, the thoughts are like these wild bunnies, like wild animals, like floating around in ether in the mental space. They're not yours. And so if you have caught yourself being in a negative mental state, dial down the volume on those negative thoughts. Like, literally stretch out your proverbial, like your energy arm, and dial down the volume on those thoughts. And you would be surprised what's possible, right? Watch your thoughts, watch your negative states, watch your emotions, watch your actions. Because again, you are this catalyst. You are this magical substance. You have this talent to like make things happen. But again, because you have this power, you can manifest negativity in your life just as much as you can manifest positivity. You also have to be very, very careful with your words. Words are spells. That's why it's called spelling. But words are spells for everybody. 10 times worse for you. So what you say about yourself and others carries a lot of weight. So be careful and very intentional with your communication. With you, it's exceptionally important to keep and maintain the integrity of your word. Don't, things like gossiping, things like lying, things like not holding a promise are really, really bad for you. It is like taking your pure creative potential and spitting it in the face. This is not usually how we should treat our own innate talents, especially the talents of this caliber, right? So for you, having a very strong relationship with your word, always keeping your promises, making sure your communication is intentional. What does it mean? Your communication should try to raise others up instead of tearing them down, because your words, especially the negative words, carry meaning. I don't want to call them like curses, but they could be. You have that mystical aura, like mystical, like witchy, like mage power around you, where like your gaze may even be hypnotic. And so when you just say something, oh, like, I wish, yada, 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 whatever comes after I wish is going to materialize a lot faster than, for other people. Because also, what you emanate is what gets magnetized back. So if you accidentally spelled, or cast a spell on someone in a negative way, it'll come back to you. I hate to say this, like, the law of karma is real, and especially for you. 6 is the number of karma in numerology. That means what goes around comes around. So you have to be extremely careful, because in your case, you reap what you sow could not be truer. 6 is being called to create things in the world. They're not being called to be okay with the status quo. They are usually invited to find their own flavor of magic. 6s are really good at building their own worlds, and they're very good at like all types of creative professions and creative endeavors, and even shaking things up, right? Think something that's truly innovative or inventive. Think like large communities of people, or like a new philosophical stream, or like a new philosophical idea. All of this lives and dwells in the realm of the 6. Like, you have that kind of power to be building things that are societal and planetary in terms of caliber. And so as such, and because you carry within yourself such a large primordial spark, for you it's very important to understand that you have a responsibility to humanity, to your family, to society, right? For you, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to just like sit it out, so to say, and just like chill. Or I guess you could, but that is not you living into your own blueprint. That is not you living according to your design. Because the bigger the power, the bigger the responsibility, right? And you have been given a lot of power. And going back to the fact that 6 is a number of karma, you are going to have to face the music. You are going to have to deal with large chunks of your own karma and your own karmic payback. Like if you wronged somebody, your karmic payback may be immediate, right? So don't be surprised. Like literally, you did something quote unquote bad, and the next morning the payback has already arrived, because for you things may be accelerated. Now I will tell you, because you have these magical abilities, you are naturally in tune with timelines, meaning you can speed time up and slow time down. So know that about you. You are literally like a magical person, a magical human. So know that you already have like a natural and innate access to the timelines in this time-space reality. And so understand that about yourself, right? And if you find that time is moving too fast, or you're not able to do enough things, or all the things that you wanted to get through, slow it down. You would notice that time is actually an axis. There's like an axis, a vertical axis and a horizontal axis of time. Well, actually, time is vertical and space is horizontal. So you would find yourself, like you would be able to align to these two verticals, like you would be able to align your own body to these two verticals quite naturally, where your spinal cord is connected with an axis of time. And when you stretch out your hands to the sides, you could connect to the axis of space. And with that, you would be able to slow things up or speed them down. Speed them up and slow them down. And also, you could spatially rearrange things energetically. I don't know if I just got into like a really, really complex territory, but just know that you are innately connected to time-space reality. And what you do in this life really, really matters. Your impact is always beyond you. I've yet to meet a life path 6 that only came to work in their own like little zone here on themselves. Like it never happens. At the very minimum, you're going to have an impact on your lineage and on your family. That's at the very minimum. But most likely on your community or your city or your town or even your country. Like there are a lot of famous people or people that really helped move the needle for the society at large with life path 6. So don't underestimate yourself. That's another thing. 6s do have a tendency to be a little bit moody and to get into like depressive states or states of like where they're not really able to like fully evaluate their own awesomeness. And so very often they underestimate themselves, underestimate their abilities, or have a very low self-esteem. And they would go through the ebbs and the flows. Like sometimes and their downs seem to be like the downs are really low and the ups are really high. So they could have these like bipolar states almost, where they're like, oh my God, everything is awesome. And then like, oh my God, we all are gonna die. So they're not a very like stable path. And so just know that about yourself. And when you're in the down zone, know that there's always gonna be an up, but also know this about yourself. Like if things seem bleak, it's not because things are truly bleak, it's because you have a bias and you just tend to have a little bit of a negative bias. Like 6s live in this like weird realm of energies that tend to be realistic at best and pessimistic at worst. Like there are not a lot of optimists and optimistic people in the 6s. Like again, everything is an overgeneralization, but they tend to be a little bit on the like glass half empty type of situation. And that's why it's very important for the 6 to do the calibration. What is the calibration? The calibration is you have to do gratitude. I mean, exercises and everything, and have a gratitude journal, because you're going to have to fill up that cup. Like if your glass is always half empty, you're going to have to bring it back to fullness, right? So gratitude exercises, filling your own cup. Keeping a record and a journal of all of your wins, so that you can reread all of them when the times are dire or when you're feeling like life is empty and meaningless, and all of those things, because you do tend to get into depressive states. It may be important for you to have a life partner that is an optimist, or friends that are very optimistic and happy-go-lucky, so that they can balance you out, because for you it's actually really, really important to believe in something bigger than yourself. For you it's really important to believe in the light at the end of the tunnel. Hope is extremely important for you, so cultivate hope. Allow yourself to feel hope. Feeling hopeful is not a sign of the lack of your intelligence. Feeling hopeful is a self-care tactic for you, right? So just know that you are moody and that is part of your design, but it's not a predicament, right? And you can work with your emotional states. And how your answer is you are actually going to um, have to balance your masculine and the feminine polarities. And that is your biggest lesson. By the way, I made a video on YouTube around heart and mind connection. If you are a life path 6, please go onto my YouTube channel. This is Maria with a Y, Mariya, and watch that video. It is specifically for you because that is how you find your balance. Because once you balance your heart and your mind, your masculine and your feminine, you are going to be like a supernova. That is when you unlock your potential. If you just lead with one side but not the other, that is a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for getting yourself into a depressive state. That is a recipe for not wanting to get out of bed every morning and just feeling like you're a failure. Your way is through equilibrium, is through balance, but you're going to have to be deliberate about that. That balance is not just going to magically descend upon you because you're just not that kind of energy. Unfortunately, for a 6, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to work for the things that you get because, again, for you, the law of karma, what you reap is what you sow. Unfortunately, this is not a life where you get to chill and not do much, right? So be ready for hard work and know that you're going to persevere because you have so much primordial spark. You have so much potential. Oh my God, it blows my mind. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I'm sending you a big virtual hug. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, loves.